Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International. Officials in Portugal are reportedly scrambling to deal with the aftermath of an embarrassing jailbreak this week after 5 men escaped from what was supposed to be a high-security facility, a situation that has been blamed on a chronic understaffing problem. The escape took place at around 10 a.m. on September 7th at the Val de Judeus prison, located in the town of Alcoentre, about 40 miles north of Lisbon. Few details of how the escape was carried out are currently available. However, it's been reported that 5 inmates were able to climb over the walls of the facility using a ladder and a handmade rope. After that, they fled the area. The 5 escapees have been identified as a 39-year-old British man named Mark Cameron Roscalier, a 59-year-old Argentinian man named Rodolphe Lorman, a 42-year-old Georgian man named Sergili Fariani, and 2 Portuguese men, 61-year-old Fernando Ferreira and 33-year-old Fabio Luero. All of the men are said to be extremely dangerous and were each supposed to be serving lengthy sentences for crimes including kidnapping, robbery, drug trafficking, and money laundering. While representatives from the government and Portugal's judicial police have emphasized that the fugitives received outside help and that the escape was well planned and that this wasn't the first time they had tried something like this, representatives from 2 prison guard associations claim that more basic failures led to the breakout. They say that the prison has been chronically understaffed for a long time now, and that less than half of the personnel required to oversee the facility's more than 500 inmates are working at any given time. They allege that this has led to glaring holes in security that directly contributed to this week's incident, such as the fact that the prison's watchtowers have not been manned for roughly 9 years. At the time of this recording, authorities say that they have launched a manhunt for the escaped inmates and will also be conducting an internal investigation into the situation inside the prison. So far, it appears that all 5 of the inmates remain at large. Representatives from the Scotland Police's major investigation team released a tragic update in the case of a missing 35-year-old woman this week, announcing that after nearly a year they believe that she is dead and that they have now arrested and charged a man in connection with the case. According to reports, 35-year-old mother of 3, Kasha Smith, was reported missing in early January of 2024 after family members were unable to get in contact with her. They were incredibly worried because they hadn't heard from Kasha in the last couple of months, and it was extremely unlike her not to be there for her 3 daughters. The family told authorities that the last time anyone had seen Kasha was on October 10th, 2023, when she was on a FaceTime video call with her friend at her home in the Calder Grove area of Edinburgh. After that, they had been contacted by Kasha on November 4th, though the circumstances surrounding this communication are unclear. It's now believed that by this point, Kasha might have already been in danger. When an investigation was launched this past January, authorities searched Kasha's property as well as a number of places of interest in the surrounding area. These included a section of Union Canal about 100 yards away from her home, as well as some woods that were also close by. Sadly, the 35-year-old mother was never found. For the last several months, few other developments were reported. However, that changed this week when police announced that an arrest had been made in connection with the case. According to investigators, a 39-year-old man named John Byrne was taken into custody on September 6th on charges of murder and attempting to defeat the ends of justice. Currently, authorities haven't revealed any of the evidence they have against Byrne or his relationship to Kasha. However, they have tragically stated that they believe the missing mother is dead. The news understandably came as a devastating blow to Kasha's loved ones, particularly her 3 children. In a previous heartbreaking appeal to the public, her daughter Kaylee had stated in part, quote, "I recently had my 18th birthday and didn't hear anything from my mom. She would never miss my birthday, my sister's birthdays, or Christmas. It's just not her. We miss her so much. We want nothing more than for my mom to walk through the door and to be able to give her a massive hug. It feels like I'm living the worst dream I could ever imagine. I can't express what it would mean to have my mom home. Even the smallest piece of information might be all we need to find her. So I'm asking anyone with any information, please come forward and help the police bring my mom home for me, my sisters, and the rest of my family." At the time of this recording, police are still asking the public to come forward with any information they might have, as the investigation and the search for Kasha are still ongoing. Officials in Chile say that a 39-year-old man is the latest person to be arrested this week, following an alleged plot earlier this year in which he and 2 others are accused of deliberately setting devastating forest fires, ones which led to the deaths of more than 130 people. The situation began on February 2nd, 2024, when several fires broke out simultaneously in the country's Valparaíso region. The fires began in the Lago Peñuelas Nature Reserve. However, they quickly spread to nearby coastal towns. At the time, the area was experiencing a serious heat wave that saw continuous daily temperatures of around 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat had dried out vegetation, which along with high winds, caused the individual fires to rapidly grow. It took several days and a massive effort for firefighters and other emergency responders to finally bring the situation under control. By the time it was all over, 137 people were dead, 2,000 homes were destroyed, and an estimated 16,000 others had suffered financial losses. It was considered Chile's worst tragedy since a magnitude 8.8 earthquake hit the country in 2010, killing more than 500 people. As if this wasn't awful enough, the situation grew darker when authorities determined that the deadly fires had likely been deliberately set. Not only that, but they alleged that the suspects were people who were supposed to prevent disasters like this from happening in the first place. Back in May, police announced the arrests of a volunteer firefighter, 22-year-old Francisco Mondaca, as well as an employee of the National Forest Corporation named Franco Pinto. The pair were accused of intentionally setting the fires in the Lago Peñuelas Nature Reserve as part of a scheme to earn overtime pay helping to extinguish the blazes. At the time of his arrest, Mondaca was reportedly found with flares and fireworks in the back of his vehicle and apparently admitted to driving around and throwing lit cigarettes and matches from his car. This week, authorities revealed that they had arrested a third suspect in connection with the plot, a 39-year-old man named Elias Salazar. Salazar is also said to be a volunteer firefighter and worked for Chile's National Service for Disaster Prevention. In addition to the financial gain that Salazar presumably believed he would get by allegedly participating in the scheme, officials say that he was also hoping for recognition. In a statement, they said, quote, "He likes to be a hero, participating and helping in emergencies." According to investigators, Salazar had been praised by locals for helping to successfully contain a previous fire in his area. Though even in that situation, he had to be disciplined by the local firefighters who were actually in charge because he reportedly rushed to the scene without waiting for official orders or information. At the time of this recording, it's unclear if any of the suspects are facing formal charges, though all are said to be in custody. Authorities in Japan's Nara prefecture say that a 45-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after he allegedly stabbed his ex-wife in broad daylight in the middle of a coffee shop after he had previously been accused of stalking her. The situation unfolded on the afternoon of September 5th at a Komeda coffee location in the city of Kashihara. According to reports, the victim, 47-year-old Harumi Takaishi, had agreed to meet her former husband there to discuss her removing some of her belongings from the home they used to share together. It's unclear when things first went south in the couple's marriage, but what we do know is that in May of 2021, Harumi reported her husband, 45-year-old demolition worker Hiroki Takeishi, for domestic violence. The pair eventually separated, but there was trouble again in November of 2023, when Harumi reported that her ex had been stalking her and had shown up at her home. After that, a 6-month restraining order was put in place against the 45-year-old. Police say they kept in regular contact with Harumi even after the order expired, and that they had spoken to her recently. In fact, she had apparently mentioned that she was meeting up with her ex to talk about taking some luggage and other items that were still at the previous residence. When the pair met up at the coffee shop on September 5th, they were reportedly accompanied by others, and things started off civil. However, they went off the rails when a few of the companions left. An argument started between the former husband and wife, one which ended in tragedy when Hiroki allegedly pulled out a knife and stabbed Harumi in the neck. though multiple bystanders inside the shop quickly intervened and restrained the 45-year-old attacker. Sadly, the wound to Harumi's neck hit an artery. She was later pronounced dead due to blood loss. Following Hiroki's arrest, he reportedly told police, quote, "There was no doubt that I stabbed my ex-wife with a kitchen knife." The 45-year-old remains in custody on murder charges. The joyride for a 51-year-old Chinese car thief was apparently short-lived this week, after he drunkenly immobilized the car he had stolen right on the doorstep of the very people that were looking for him. The whole thing started around 4 p.m. on September 4th, when a taxi driver by the last name of Hao called Hong Kong police to report that he had just been the victim of a carjacking. The driver had been picking up fares at the Longping Commercial Center in Yinlong District when suddenly things took a terrifying turn. A man, later identified as a 51-year-old by the last name of Liu, jumped into the cab and proceeded to threaten him with 2 knives. Thankfully, Hao had been able to flee without injury, but Liu had quickly sped off with his taxi. Police began investigating and quickly recovered the 2 knives allegedly used in the carjacking, discarded on a local road. No sooner had they learned this than the search came to an abrupt end. You see, it turned out Liu hadn't made it very far after the theft. The inebriated 51-year-old had made it less than half a mile before crashing directly into the front gate of a nearby police station. Liu was arrested and is now facing a number of charges, including taking a conveyance without authority, possession of offensive weapons, drunk driving, and driving without third-party insurance. In other taxi theft-related news, authorities in Thailand say that a jealous 25-year-old bus driver is facing charges this week after he allegedly stole a cab and drove it across multiple provinces in order to spy on his girlfriend, who he believed was cheating on him. The whole thing apparently started when the suspect, a 25-year-old man identified by the name Jirawat, became suspicious when his girlfriend decided to head back to her hometown in the province of Nakhon Ratchasima. The woman, whose identity has not been revealed, reportedly works with Jirawat for a bus company that is contracted under the Bangkok Mass Transit Authority. Jirawat is a driver on Line 8, while she is a conductor on the same route. Recently, the woman told Jirawat that she was taking a vacation to visit family. However, after she left, the 25-year-old reportedly couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. After somehow getting into his girlfriend's Facebook account, it seemed like his worst fears were confirmed. He found messages between her and another man who he felt was flirting with her and which she had responded to. Rather than waiting for her to return to confront her, though, Jirawat apparently decided it was time for decisive action. At 2:30 in the morning on September 5th, he allegedly stole a taxi belonging to a man near his home in Lam Luk Ka District and began heading towards his girlfriend's home village in Kong District. Jirawat apparently managed to finish the 200-mile trip by the time police caught up with him, though it wasn't very difficult for them to find him. Using GPS data from the stolen vehicle and a cell phone, they were able to quickly track him down and arrest him. After being taken into custody, Jirawat was reportedly very apologetic about what had happened, though obviously this did not excuse his actions. He has now been charged with theft and may also be charged with further offenses. In case you were wondering, it's unclear if he was able to confront his girlfriend before being arrested, or whether she was actually cheating on him. Representatives from the New Zealand police released a disturbing update in the death of a 38-year-old woman this week, announcing that they are treating the case as a homicide just over a month after her body was found under mysterious circumstances on a remote beach. The incident began on the morning of August 2nd, when police received a call from a man named Jared Sione Luaki. Jared stated that he was worried about his wife, Joanna Jo Sione Luaki, who he said had been missing from their home since the previous night. Jared explained that on August 1st, he, Joe, and some of their children had gone to spend time at Bailey's Beach, not far from their home in the town of Dargaville. After they all went home, Joe went back out again, later texting him that she was planning on returning to the beach. Since it was a place that they went pretty often, he didn't think much of this. However, when he awoke the next morning, he realized that Joe still hadn't come back home. When he looked at his phone, he was even more alarmed when he discovered that Joe had sent him a message. The message, which he had sent at 1:31 in the morning, was a single word: help. Jared stated that he had gone out to look for his wife immediately in the area where she said she would be, but that he couldn't find any sign of her. A search was launched for Joe, one which ended in tragedy later that afternoon. The mother of eight's body was found on a remote beach between Omamari and Oranga, roughly 20 miles north of where she had told Jared she was going. Her black Mitsubishi Outlander was found in a parking lot near Omamari Beach, with police later concluding that the vehicle had been parked there around 7 p.m. the night she disappeared. For the last month, not much information has been released about Joe's death. A lot of that apparently has to do with the fact that up until recently, police considered the death to be unexplained. That changed this week, though, when authorities announced that they believed foul play was involved in the 38-year-old's death, and that they were treating the situation as a homicide. At the time of this recording, many details about the case still have not been revealed to the public. We don't know what kind of injuries Joe suffered, where it's believed she was going on the night that she was killed, or for what purpose. However, police have said that they are exploring several leads and that they need the public's help in order to do so. In particular, investigators are looking for clothing that they say they believe Joe was wearing at the time she was missing. These items include a white Nike t-shirt with a red swoosh, black or dark gray Everlast sweatpants, and red Adidas slides. Additionally, police say that they are looking for any information about a white 2012 Toyota Hilux utility vehicle, which they believe was in the area around the time of Joe's death. The truck is described as having no registration plates, an orange hazard light on its roof, and aluminum dog cages in the back. Anyone with information about the clothes or vehicle is now being asked to please come forward. Authorities say that they are also interested in any surveillance or dashcam footage that might be relevant as well. The situation is still under investigation. A small Australian community has been left in complete disbelief this week after a pair of adolescent boys were allegedly killed by their own mother, who also attempted to take her own life. The awful incident began at around 12:40 p.m. on September 10th, when the father of the two victims, Nick Smith, traveled to the home where they were living in the village of Faulconbridge, located about 40 miles outside of Sydney in New South Wales's Blue Mountains region. The father, who was separated from his 42-year-old wife Trish Smith and did not live there, reportedly became concerned after he couldn't reach her and discovered that his sons hadn't shown up for school that day. When Nick entered the property, he made a horrifying discovery. His two boys, 11-year-old Russell and 9-year-old Ben, were unresponsive and appeared to be suffering from knife wounds. Trish Smith was also inside and had similar injuries. The terrified father called 000, and emergency responders rushed to the scene. Trish Smith was airlifted to a hospital, however, heartbreakingly, nothing could be done for Russell and Ben. They were pronounced dead at the scene. Currently, very few additional details have been released about the situation, though it has been widely reported that police suspect Trish killed her two sons before trying to take her own life. No formal charges have yet been laid against her, though she remains under police guard in the hospital, where she is said to be in stable condition. As for the motive behind the killings, that also remains a mystery, though again, there are reports that police are investigating whether Smith suffered some kind of a psychotic episode. The family has no prior record of domestic violence. However, police have stated that Smith has a history of mental health issues and was known to them, though apparently only for, quote, minor matters. They have refused to comment further at this time. Friends, family, and the broader community, meanwhile, are now struggling to come to terms with the tragedy. Many have told the media that they saw no indication that anything like this could happen, and that the boys appeared to be happy and healthy. Officials at the school have likewise stated that they attended classes normally the day before the incident, and that nothing appeared to be out of the ordinary. At the time of this recording, the devastating case is still under investigation. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you'd consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.